Hello and welcome to today's episode of Authentic Achievements, where it's my absolute delight and privilege to be joined by the absolutely fabulous Aimée Buchler. Aimée, welcome.
Thank you for having me. So happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to this conversation, but we already know we can get stuck in quite quickly. So before we do, let me share a little bit more about you with the audience. So Aimée, by age 20, was a bodybuilding champion and six-figure entrepreneur. But behind the success, she was silently battling grief from her recent mother's passing, burnout and declining health. When her body and with it, her business collapsed, doctors told her recovery was impossible. Refusing to accept that fate, she immersed herself in human optimization, holistic health, and peak performance. Through her journey back to health, she developed a powerful system for sustainable success. Today, through the Rise Room, she helps ambitious entrepreneurs optimize energy, health, and leadership, empowering them to thrive without burnout and to avoid the crash cycle that nearly cost her everything. I mean, wow, what a journey, Aimée. There is so much in there, but could you start by bringing it to life for us a little bit in your words?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, I always knew that I wanted to work in the field of helping and supporting people. From a very, very young age, I loved to help and do work around the house and support people, asking them what they needed, what they wanted. So I always knew I wanted to be in that world without really knowing it. But essentially what happened was, from the age of 15 to 17, I was nursing my mum through the last 2 years of her life, which was a really challenging time, and no 15-year-old should see the kinds of crazy things I saw. But at the same time, it definitely brought a lot of, I had to mature really fast. So it brought a lot of understanding very young.
Yeah.
I think that was part of why I understood what I wanted to do so quickly, right? So she passed away when I was 17. And Kim, I remember, watching her taking her last breath in bed at home, leaving the room, watching one sister run towards her husband and the other sister run towards her husband into their arms. And in that moment, my parents were separated, and I just collapsed onto the floor, because it was such a moment of just not feeling like I had anybody. Yeah. And I remember collapsing on the floor and just feeling this huge void in my chest. It was like my stomach and my chest just turned into holes. That's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a deep, painful experience of sorrow that I never knew, I'd never experienced before. So the reason why I say that is because that shaped a lot of what came after. And what came after was essentially me not knowing how to process those emotions, not knowing how to process the grief. I was never taught, like most of us, how to process our emotions, how to feel emotions, how to express emotions. So I channeled all of that energy into achievement, into bodybuilding, taking my body to a whole other level. I was a dancer most of my life, and I was like, let's go to the next level. So channeled it all into bodybuilding, built a six-figure business, very, very young in the fitness world, and was ignoring all of the signals of my body. Yeah. Right? My body was telling me, slow down, too fast, too much, and you need to feel your emotions. It was so bad, Kim, that I couldn't sit and watch a movie.
Wow.
Without jittering, feeling restless, getting my laptop. Impossible to rest, always on, always exhausted, burnt out, always. And eventually my body collapsed. It was like, okay, if you're not going to listen to me and the signals I'm trying to give you, then I'll make it, you know. And there's a quote that I love that says, it's by Jay Sunada, and it says, you've probably heard it before. It's a beautiful quote, and it goes, if you do not make time for wellness, you will be forced to make time for illness. And it was very much what happened to me in that moment. So my body collapsed. I was hospitalized, diagnosed with tons of different autoimmune conditions. With my collapse, my business collapsed. Obviously, I was the main front and head and lead of my business. my whole business collapsed as a result as well. I was given all of these pills, and the doctor said to me at 20 years old, you know, Aimée, you're going to live like this for the rest of your life. You're going to have all these conditions forever. You're going to take these pills forever. Like, this is it. Like, just prepare yourself. And I remember thinking, Kim, this makes no sense. Like, this can't be my life. There's no way I'm going to allow that to be my story. And I was invited by a friend of mine to go to a breathwork event. Have you ever tried breathwork before?
Have.
You have?
Once, and it was, I'd definitely do it again, but like, share with us, because you'll understand it and be able to articulate it so much better than I would.
Yeah. So, I mean, just as a little caveat here on the breath, right? The breath is one of the most powerful tools, and I studied and trained in the breath after this very, very deeply. It is one of the most powerful tools to regulate the nervous system, which is our master generator of our body that keeps us in stress mode or in relax mode. And we can rapidly change our state from stress to relax, from relax to stress, like by choice, using the breath, which is so powerful. But we can also use the breath to tap into what we call altered states of consciousness, where we're basically hitting brain waves that we would never normally hit outside of dreaming or meditation. And so during this experience, I had no idea what to expect. I just went, I was lying on a yoga mat. The guy's telling us how to breathe. He's drumming away. Someone else is rattling. And I'm thinking to myself, what is happening right now? What's going on? Where am I? But anyway, I keep on breathing, and slowly, I'm losing sense of time, space, my body, until eventually I remember, like, literally, this was the first experience I had like this, where I elevated out of my body. This was my experience. And I turned around to look at my body. And I was just like, what the hell's going on? This is nuts. Like, is this real? You know, someone who's super like I was very sciencey and very, 3D. And I remember hearing a voice telling me, if you don't slow down, you're going to lose everything else, relationships, everything. And it sounded like my mother's voice in that moment. So after that experience, I remember feeling, this was just the most transformational thing. And I basically left that experience and decided to take my health and my well-being into my own hands. And I went to study breath work. I went to study naturopathic medicine, which is natural medicine as such, nutrition, energy and performance enhancement, specifically for peak performance, and things like this, meditation, and really, took my training deep in the realms of wellness and psychology and other things. And from there, I was able to completely heal my body from all of the autoimmune conditions I was diagnosed with. The doctors were like, what? How? Like, never seen this before. Maybe you get a bit better. Maybe you take some pills and it helps with a few symptoms, but they'd never seen remission from this many autoimmune conditions like this. And it was the combination of doing the work, the psychological work, healing from grief, understanding the trauma, going through all of that, but also the natural medicine that was physiologically getting me back into balance, getting my biomarkers and my health back into balance, which was all skewed after competing. So my health got better. I managed to rebuild my business, relationships that were really struggling at the time when I was burnt out and when I had my big dip started to come back online and started to thrive. I met my now husband. Everything just started to fall into place. And I was bringing all of this stuff into the work I was doing with my clients. So I started seeing incredible transformations with my clients and realized that it is the combination of mind and body, which we've all heard before, but it's literally the combination of subconscious deep work in the mind and root cause solutions to the body, not just slapping on a bandage and giving you a pill. Like, why is this thing happening? Getting to the root, those two combined can create the most insane transformations and bring us back into such deep balance with incredible resilience. And that was really when I developed my now system called the Endless Energy Method.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, the body is an amazing thing, isn't it? And the power of our mind. You know, I don't have anything as bad as you, but I remember a number of years ago, Scarlett wasn't quite 2, and I went in thinking I'd got a cold, and I was like, I've got a cold. Everyone was like, you're really ill. I said, no, I've got a cold. It was ridiculous. And I was definitely heading for burnout, and I ended up being taken to intensive care. As I walked in thinking, this is ridiculous, they're so overreacting. And I'd got double lung pneumonia, and I ended up in acute care within half an hour. And I remember saying to the doctor, I was like, tell me what I need to do to get out of here. And he said, madam, I'm not too sure that you are getting out of here. I went, no, you don't understand. I am getting out of here, and you will let me, because I've got a 2-year-old who's never done more than one night without me, and she'll be scared. So I will do whatever it takes, but I will leave. And 3 days later, he let me out, and he said, I don't understand how you went from that to this, because I've seen the x-rays. And I went, really simple. All I thought about, all I visualized, all I spent any time doing was Scarlett's face when I was the one that picked her up. And equally, for 3 days, I did nothing, because I couldn't do anything. She strapped me to everything on the bed. So I didn't work. I didn't take loads of calls. I wasn't stressed. So actually, my body had time to just rest, to just be calm, because there's nothing else that you can do. And the impacts are insane, aren't they? And I guess it reminds me of something that Bob Proctor used to say, which is, when we're poorly, it's called disease for a reason. It's dis-ease. The body is no longer at ease. And actually, what we need to do is with what you're doing, is help our bodies to find balance again, so that it is no longer not at ease, in which case it heals itself. Would that be fair?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I love that.
It's really interesting, because the way I describe it for my clients is like this. I say, imagine a line, right? A straight line. And this is your peak performance, peak health line, right? It's just all of, like, this is where your body operates at its best. And then I want you to imagine dots around the line. Okay, so some above the line, some below the line, and some on the line. These dots represent different, what we call biomarkers in the body. So it might be, the function of cells, how well your cells function. It might be gut health. It might be vitamin D. It might be, all sorts of different markers that we might test for. And some of those markers will be on the line, meaning they're in perfect condition, right? Your vitamin D level is perfect on the line, but your magnesium might be completely off, right? Yeah. Too high, too low, whatever it is, right? But it's off the line. And so when we look at this line, what we're doing is we're essentially saying peak performance. In other words, homeostasis, balance, when you're operating at your absolute best, your optimal performance is when those biomarkers are on that line. Mm-hmm. And it's like a great analogy to understand being in balance. Sometimes that can be a little bit, like uncertain to the meaning, right?
It's hard. It's a hard one, isn't it? Because how I mean, that's a great way of describing balance, because balance is one of those things that people want but struggle to understand and articulate how they're going to get it. But actually, that feels like tangible. Like, I get that. I can see that. I can understand it. And that's an important part, isn't it? But why should overall health, be part of an entrepreneur's strategy?
Yeah.
And they don't put themselves in it, do they?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? It's like, I mean, we work mainly with entrepreneurs, and I know the struggles. I've seen what happens. I've seen what happened with myself. I've seen what happens with so many others. And essentially, the reason why it's so important to have well-being as a big part of your life as an entrepreneur is because as an entrepreneur, you not only have so many demands on your plate, you not only have so many hats to wear and so much to do, but you are responsible for the creation and the scaling of a business. And if you don't have the energy or the focus or the productivity to grow that business, it's not going to grow. It's not going to evolve. So it is like, let's take a woman who is pregnant. If she doesn't eat, the baby doesn't eat, right?
Yeah.
For an entrepreneur, if the entrepreneur doesn't take care of his or her energy, the business has no momentum. And that's why it's so important, because energy allows for more productivity, for more focus, to get more done in less time, to make better decisions, to have better executive function. There's so many important things that energy provides, but that can only really happen when we're looking at that peak performance line and getting, biomarkers in line again.
Wow. It's so true, because actually, for entrepreneurs, they are their most important resource, because actually without them, as you demonstrate with your own business, without them, the business often doesn't survive. And therefore, it's not about being selfish, but saying, if you want business to grow so that your people have got that security and then they can grow as well, you have to factor in taking care of you, because if you don't, you're not really taking care of them, are you? And it reminds me of that analogy that says that you should put your own face mask on first, which, I'll be honest, for years I didn't understand. I didn't get it until I had my little girl. And then she was only tiny, and when we're on the plane, and I got it in that moment. Of course, I have to put it on me, because if I put it on her and I don't get mine on, she wouldn't survive. Whereas if I get it on me, I can help her. And I'm ashamed to say it took me until that to work that out, because before it felt selfish. So for all these entrepreneurs out there, and hopefully this resonates, Aimée, with what you went through, where it might feel a bit selfish to put yourself into the equation, what advice have you got for them?
Great question. I love this. So there's a concept called the I, we, and all concept. Mm-hmm. And the way it goes is it essentially says I before we before all. And if we look at what that means, the all is our community, our business as such, like our employees. The we is our very close family and friends that are right in our inner circle. And the I is the I. Now, if the I doesn't come first, the we and the all suffer. It's just simple. If the I doesn't come first, we and all suffer. I'll give you an example. I had a client who came to me who was extremely, extremely unwell, completely burnt out, thyroid problems, gut problems, energy problems, sleep problems, headaches and migraines all over the shop. And when we looked into what was going on, it was very clear that she was overstretching herself massively. She was giving so much to her business and had like 2 charities running at the same time. And she was just giving to everybody and completely neglecting her own energy, her own health. So this was something I said to her. I said, look, like, you have to understand that the reality right here is that boundaries need to be really set, especially for a period of time where you need to now focus on you. And once you're back into health, that needs to be maintained. She wasn't having it. She was like, no, I'm never gonna slow down, stop in any way. I'm not gonna delegate. That's not what I do. I do it all. I'm the front of it. So we didn't work together in the end. A year later, she came around, hospitalized.
Wow.
Burnt out, forced out of her business and her charities. She couldn't work physically. She was so burnt out and exhausted and unwell. Came back to me and said, I really need your help. I understand what you mean now. And the passion I have is helping entrepreneurs not get to that point and not get to the point that I was at, which is the same as she was at, ignoring the signals, push until the body forces you to push, because it always happens. Always.
It's so true. In anything, if we're ignoring it, if we're pushing it down. I remember, although not related to work, but I remember when my nan was really, really ill many years ago, and my mum was struggling to deal with the potential of the grief that came from that. And in the end, she went temporarily blind because her body needed her to stop, to be able to focus on it. And we can end up with these really significant physical impacts as a result of us not listening to the signs, can't we? Not listening to our body. But what would you say are the most common issues that entrepreneurs face today regarding their health?
Yeah, that's a great question. So how many would you like?
How many have you got?
I've got many. I will tell you that, I think if we're looking at mind and body, there are some problems that are more mental and some that are more physiological. But looking at the physiological ones to begin with, sleep is a massive problem. And the thing that people don't understand and entrepreneurs can really get caught up in is thinking that common means normal. So things that are common, they call normal. Oh, it's normal to not sleep well, to wake up a couple times in the night. It's normal to not sleep 8 hours, 7, 8 hours a night. It's normal because it's common. But if we look at the state of our world, and if we look at the state of entrepreneurs worldwide, 72% of entrepreneurs report chronic burnout, depression, or anxiety. 77% of entrepreneurs report sleep issues, hormonal issues, or gut issues. Yeah. This is the severity. And so what's common is not normal. And that's the first thing. So sleep issues fall into that category. Every time I work with an entrepreneur or my team works with an entrepreneur, we hear the same story. Yeah, I don't really have any problems. I just, I think with my sleep, I wake up 2-3 times in the night. But other than that, I go back to sleep, it's all good, as if it's just normal. So this is a big one. And, here it's really very much connected to stress hormones, cortisol, circadian rhythm, which is the rhythm of your body, waking up and going to sleep and having this hormonal balance and so on. So sleep is a big one that we see a lot. We also see gut issues as a really big physiological problem, which can be minor. It could be maybe, just having discomfort in the stomach, and so on and so forth. But it could also be major gut issues, like having real severe problems, allergies and whatnot that they didn't have before. And then from a, mental side, there's a lot more on the physiological side, but these are the two big ones that I see all the time. From the mental side, it's really interesting because what we do with our clients is we have a system that focuses on both mental and physiological so that we can get results fast and powerfully, because entrepreneurs like fast results, as we know, and can really get some really powerful fast results when it's done in combination because they're interlinked. But when we look at the mind, what we often find is there are subconscious programmings from childhood that are keeping them stuck in patterns of survival. And this can be, something like rest means I'm not serious about success. Because as a child, they might have learned that actually, resting was not allowed. It was told, they were told that if they took naps that they were lazy. So they learned, their nervous system, their body learned that rest is unsafe. So actually switching off is very hard for them. And it's all to do with the subconscious pattern that they're unaware of. And this is why working the mind and body together is so important, because you can do all the physiological stuff, but if you don't really get to the root cause of the mental subconscious program, you can stay stuck. So the subconscious programs are, and they differ from entrepreneur to entrepreneur, but it gets really interesting when we go into that space.
I love that, because I do a lot in that space, in the leadership piece, because most of the people I work with, you end up realizing that the bit we've got to work on is whatever's happened to the inner child that's still driving everything. And one of the things that how I explain it to people is, as I understand it, we create what I call I am statements, and we create them at the age of 7, and we enforce them at the age of 14, and we embed them at the age of 21. And if we don't go back and look at them and change them and adapt them, then they become the operating system that runs us. And so, I'm 52. So if I hadn't gone and looked at mine, I'd be running on 31-year out of date software. And I use that analogy because, if this things with a software update, we immediately rush in, don't we? must update it. And yet we aren't doing it for ourselves. And I think, God, 31 years worth of bugs that were in that system, if I'd not gone and looked at it, to be cognizant of the fact that actually, if it's not serving us anymore, it's time for us to rewrite that script, to fix that bug, to enable us to move forward and be the best us we can be, because that baggage we don't need anymore, isn't it? So how do people get started on that journey?
With us, or is you some general recommendations?
No, so general first, and then with you specifically.
Perfect. So, I mean, you know, I'm gonna tell you what I truly think, and some people won't like this, and some people will understand this, and many entrepreneurs understand this because they've had their own experiences with the traditional medical system. And many people are now coming out with their own experiences, as I had mine. And the thing is the traditional medical system is built to treat symptoms and to maintain symptoms, not get to the root cause and get you actually like healed, which is why traditional medicine has never found a cure as such for anything. It's just a maintenance, like they get you to a better place and maintain. So it's profit driven, in my opinion. And I would say, you know, just as a little caveat, the traditional medical system is so important and powerful for emergencies. It is the most important thing. If you have a car crash, if you need a surgery, if like that's where it comes in as life-saving. If there's something really mega going on, your life is like there's a life-threatening situation, traditional medicine, the best thing ever. But on a day-to-day basis, it's focused on treating symptoms, not getting to the root cause. So what we do, and what I always recommend to entrepreneurs, ambitious individuals, and to be honest, anyone in general, is to really look at how you can bring your body back into balance so that your immune system can work better, so that your gut can work better, so that your brain can function better naturally. Yeah. Because I think we've been taught that the body is weak. From a young age, we're taught that the body's weak. You know, if you have a fever, take medicine. If you have a headache, take a pill. You're taught that the body is unintelligent and weak, and that the immune system can't fight anything off on its own. You need to always be giving it pills and whatnot. But when we actually look at the facts and the science, the body is so intelligent. It's always speaking to us, and it's incredibly strong. So looking at natural roots, such as functional medicine, naturopathic medicine, to really look at how you can start to treat that particular problem that you're having, and even go as far as what we do, which is prevention. Preventing things from happening, preventing things from getting bad, right? Tapping into the longevity space, which is all about prevention. And from the other side, it's mentally getting clear and understanding what are the subconscious drivers that you are unaware of as an ambitious individual and entrepreneur that is driving the show, that is keeping you stuck in loops and cycles, that is killing your leadership, that is stopping you from performing at your absolute best and tapping into your fullest potential. Those are the two routes. With us, the way we do it is when we onboard a member, we assign each member an energy specialist and a productivity specialist, mind and body. And each member works one-on-one with their own team. And over a 3 to 6 month period, we get them to insane places in their productivity and their energy and their health, so that they can be not only the best leaders in their businesses, but at home and in life, and enjoy life and have a better quality of life overall.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that, because, you know, that's kind of what it's all about, isn't it? Is how we become the best version of us. So I can't believe where the time's gone. This has just disappeared. I don't even know. So before we say thank you and goodbye, can you share with the audience how they get in touch with you?
Yeah, 100%. So you can get in touch with me on Instagram, for example, by going to Aimée, Aimee Buchler, Buchler. That's my handle on Instagram. You can follow us on YouTube. That is also the same handle. And if you want to actually know more about what we do and our method, join one of our masterclasses at the endlessenergymasterclass.com. Would love to see anybody that's watching this there.
Amazing. And for anybody that didn't scribble that down fast enough, please don't worry. Just check the show notes below, and all the ways to connect with Aimée will be right there for you. Aimée, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed today. It's been so enlightening and insightful. Thank you for coming and sharing your experience and your insights with us.
Thank you so much, Kim.
And for everybody listening and watching, I hope you found today's episode to be as enlightening and inspiring as I have. And until next time, take care.